All right, so this is what we're going to do. I want to give you an overview of see if I can do this. Maybe I'll record it this way. You guys are here, so hey, if they can't read it, that's on them. I want to give you an overview of where we're at. So we're done with the front end stuff, all that client side stuff. So now we're going to move to the back end. And I want to give you an idea of the different tools and the hardware that are going to be necessary on the back end. So far we're real familiar with Notepad++ or Atom or some other syntax highlighting tool that you have. We're going to continue to use a browser. But now we need to add in two new pieces of software. The first piece of software we're going to add in is an FTP client. Now, Notepad++, Atom, they have a built-in FTP. If you would like to configure it, you're more than welcome to go about configuring that. But we are going to use FileZilla. All right? Now, FileZilla and FTP is a way for us to be able to remotely access a directory structure on a server to put files up and to get files down from. So we're moving from this very local development environment to a server. And when we get to that server, we have to have a way to get our files up there, and that's where an FTP client, specifically FileZilla, comes into play. All right? Now, not right away, but later, in a few weeks, we're going to use another piece of software called MySQL Workbench. And that is going to help us do database development. All right? Now, the hardware on the back end is an enterprise level server running a VM environment, a virtualized environment. All right? Just some conceptual understanding of what's going on here. So we have this enterprise level server. It's going to be running a virtualized environment. So there can be multiple servers on that physical server. And the different components that are going to be running, we need a web server. Our web server is going to be Apache. And it's going to be running on port 80, which is the standard HTTP port. That means it's going to be listening. So we're getting into things that some of you have never heard of before. When we communicate with other servers, we're sending a request to a server on a particular port. That server is listening for communications from anybody on that port. All right? To give you a little bit of a breakdown, there are, or I should say, so the IP address, IPv4, is 32 bits. The ports are 16-bit ports. So that means that on any server, we can have 65,536 different services listening. You with me? On our server, we only have a handful of services that are listening. One of them is port 80. So when we go to the server that we're going to go to here in a minute, to see our stuff run, that server is running on port 80, listening for a request. So every time you go to a website, www.cnn.com, slashdot.com, arstechnica.com, wherever you go, You're sending a request to the web server on port 80, and it's listening for your request. You're saying, show me this file, and the server will serve it up. The other services we need, we're going to have an FTP server. The default port is port 21. That's the default FTP port. So all of these services have default ports. HTTP, port 80, HTTPS, 443, FTP, 21, SFTP, 22, so on and so forth. So here's the deal. I had to rotate my FTP port. So our server is on 721. I just put a 7 in front of it. Anybody want to take a wild guess why I chose 721 instead of just leaving it on 21? Hackers. Is that what you're going to say, Josh? Nope. Hackers. Hackers. It doesn't take any time at all for a hacker to scan all 4-point-some billion IP addresses looking for different services, right? Matter of fact, all they do is have a scanner running all the time looking for web servers, FTP servers, remote desktop servers, so on and so forth, and that's how they exploit it. What was going on is they found my FTP server, and they kept trying to break into it by brute force. They kept trying to use different combinations of usernames and passwords to the point where in a 24-hour period, I was generating a 4-megabyte log file. A 4 megabyte, that's 4 million bytes log file every single day. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And it was slowing down everything. So when I changed it to 721, the FTP server no longer replies, so the hackers don't bother it anymore. Right? Wicked stuff, isn't it? The things you learn. The other thing that we have running up there is MySQL server. And that is going to be on port 3301. That's the default port, the default listening port for MySQL. All right? And again, MySQL is a relational database, RDB. It's a relational database. It's going to be listening on port 3301. So, what does this look like? So up in the internet, I have my server, and the address is itech315.frostburg.edu. All right, that's the name of the server with FTP on port 721. And MySQL on 3301. The default, port 80 is default. This is not default. These are all running servers, and we're going to be using clients, right? All running servers, we're using clients to access the server. So, on our computer, we're going to create our PHP code. So create/edit our PHP code, and eventually our MySQL stuff as well. But we can't run that locally anymore because we've learned at this point that PHP is a what-side language? It's a server-side language. We need the server. I got the server, and I'm introducing you to the server now. So we're going to create and edit our PHP code using what we're already familiar with. We're going to use Notepad++, Atom, whatever you want. To run it, we need to take that code and we need to upload to our server. Using what? How are we going to get our file uploaded to the server? FileZilla. Using our FTP client. All right? Don't get nervous. It's no different than moving something from one folder to the other folder. We're just moving it from one computer to another computer. All right? When you really kind of step back and think about it, it's pretty cool. Because that server could be literally located anywhere on the planet. And in a single click, you can take a file from your local computer and place it on a computer that could be 5, 6, 7,000 miles away in a blink of an eye. Right? So we're going to upload it to our computer. Then, to test, right, to run our code, to see it render, we're going to go to http://itech315.frostburg.edu/users. Hold on. Is it users or is it user? Let me see. 1 second. It's users with an S, and then you'll put your FSU ID in there. At that point, you'll be able to see your PHP render, and if you want this program, this project that you're doing right now, you can take that whole thing and plop it up there, and it'll work too. So now, whenever mom or dad or whoever keeps saying, what are you doing in class? You can say, well, here, and email them the link. They can click on it, and they can see what you've been doing. All right? Pretty powerful. And then we repeat that process. We just keep doing that over and over. Need to edit something, we edit it, we click save. I'll show you some tricks and shortcuts so there's not a lot of dragging and dropping. And it's more of a just clicking, yes, I want to replace that file. All right? Do you have any questions about conceptually what's going on in the layout? Nothing? Anybody? Ready? Let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can get something working here. Okay, so I'm going to share my desktop. All right, everybody sees my screen, I hope. You need to find FileZilla on your computer. So it should be right on your desktop. It's this icon right here. And I recommend once you launch it once, make sure you pin it down below so you keep a hold of it. So this is FileZilla. This is the basic layout of FileZilla. Take a minute and just explore around. Just look at the different things. Notice how it says this is the local. Wait. Just wait. Don't do that. Don't do that. All I had to do was unlock the screen and you would have been able to log in. You can do it on your own computer if you want once it comes up. It's up to you. Once it comes out, let me know and I'll unlock it. So take a minute, look around. Notice on the left-hand side it says local site. On the right-hand side, it says remote site. Notice how you can kind of go anywhere you want on that computer. There's the desktop, right? Look across the top at the various things that are up there. So I want you to take about 5 minutes, maybe the last 2 or 3 minutes, and I want you to look through all those. Look at the preferences. See what the different things are in there. Go ahead, Xavier. Click around. Ready? Let me know when you're logging back on. Is it logging on now?
Yeah, it's logging on.
Okay. It should show your desktop. If it doesn't, let me know. All right. So, as we look at different things, like under edit is where our settings are. There's a lot of different settings that are in here. Maybe one of the only ones I want to point out is the file editing with the file type associations. I'll explain that later. All right? I'll explain how we can change that later. You can talk about like the server reconnecting and disconnecting, adding bookmarks, so on and so forth. So this is what I want you to do. Just above the host username, password, port stuff, the quick connect, on the open site manager, click on that. And this is going to bring up my site manager. I want you to create a new site, and you're going to call it iTech 315. So you click on new, and then call it iTech 315. A lot of information coming at you today, a lot of new information for a lot of you. Neighbors help neighbors, absolutely. What's the question, Joshua? You can right-click on it and or just kind of, let's see, what do you do? Oh, there's a rename button down below. Okay. But you might have to wait until you fill everything in. All right. Over on the right, it says protocol. We're going to use FTP, but I want you to click on that drop-down so you can see others. For example, there's SFTP. Here's the deal. We're going to use FTP, which is clear text. That means that if somebody were to intercept our communications with the server, they can see whatever files we've uploaded. All right? SFTP, secure FTP, is an encrypted tunnel between us and the server. All right? We're going to use just regular FTP. I'm trying to take away, for now, any hurdles in your path. The host. What did I tell you is the name of our server? itech315.frostburg.edu. itech315, no spaces. itec315.frostburg.edu. Now, typically, FTP runs on what port? 21. If we were running the default port, we don't need to put the port number in there. But I rotated the port, so we got to put port 721 where it says port. That way, our client knows what channel to communicate on. Next thing down, it says logon type. Normal is fine. All right? Your username is your Frostburg email address username without the @frostburg.edu. Okay? So that's your username. Don't forget the 0 at the end. Your password is your student ID number. So you're going to pull out your student ID. If you don't have that, you can go to pause. On your student ID, the number that is separated, there'll be like a wee little space. Don't put that number on there. Right? That's actually your ID number, which they should clarify more. So your student ID is your password. Now, after you've done that, you can click on Connect, and you should be able to connect into your account. When you get into your account, there's going to be nothing in it. It's going to look like this. It's not going to be anything in it. It's going to say empty directory listing. Yep. What's that? User error. Let me see your stuff. Try putting it in again. Click the do normal. Put your password in again. Connect.
Let's try connecting again.
No, that's it. Okay. You have to put it in again. You're in there. Double check your thing. I would click on Save Password just because it's easier that way. Hit OK. No. Hit OK. Follow it through. What's that?
I can connect.
Let's have a look at it. iTech 315. That looks like an awful big 8 to me. Yeah, that says 8781. 721. Put your number back in there again. Critical error cannot connect to server. Have a look again. So a couple people. Give me a few minutes. Let me see how everybody else is done. What's yours saying? Oh, you know what? I may have not restarted the server. No, I think I did restart the server. Did you connect, Paige? Did I see you connect? No? Nobody connected? Let me restart the server. Let's see what's up. Should have tested somebody's credentials. Oh, damn it. Where's my viewer? Technology. Let's try that then. All right, somebody try logging in again for me. I see people hitting it. Password incorrect. Password incorrect. Check your passwords. No, I see that. Yeah, no, I see that. You know what? I wonder. Try putting a space before your password. I know that sounds weird, but.
No.
Let's see here. Let me look at my script again real quick. 1 second. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Hold on. It'll take me a minute to fix this up. So this is a word about scripting. Imagine if I went through and I created all these without a script, and then I get to the end and realize that there's a mistake. I'd have to go back through and I'd have to recreate. Josh, you got a 3 at the beginning of yours?
Say that one more time. You said, do I?
You got a 3 at the beginning of yours?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what it is. Try this. Try your username and put an S at the end. I just caught that. Try putting an S at the end. The end of your password. See that there? Canvas did that, and I just noticed it. Lowercase s. No? All right. Let me clean up this data. Give me just a second. I'll just regenerate them. It'll only take a second. Let me generate that again. All right, give it a shot. See what happens here. There we go. There comes everybody. All right. So for the record, I just recreated 20 accounts that I screwed up in a minute. And it took me longer to download and get the stupid software installed to access the server. So think about that as you move forward out into industry. All right? Okay, so at this point, we're all connected or close to being connected. And what I would like for you to do, it should be like this. I would like for you to take one of your HTML files, any one of your HTML files that you have, and put it into your directory so you just have a basic understanding. Joshua. No, I can see my screen. I don't understand why it's doing that, though. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, hold on. One sec. Let me, it might be, I got a lot of different screen viewing technologies going on, so that's probably, try to redo it here. There we go. Okay, so drag something up here. Now, one of your HTML files, right, for it to be rendered. It can be your project if you want to put your project up there that's due tonight. I don't care what. But you need to be aware of some things. We are developers. We are not end users. Our developer tools sometimes aren't as polished as end users. And that's because there's a lot less of us developers than there are end users. And as a result, oftentimes the money is not spent on finally polishing some of these tools. So if you drug something up and it doesn't show up in your directory, you hit F5. F5 does a refresh on the directory. All right? The other thing that you'll see happen is up here in the status. Every once in a while it'll say disconnected. If you've been idle for a while, it'll say disconnected. You do not have to reconnect. If you just drag a new file up there or you grab something from it, it'll automatically reconnect. That's me on the back end pulling the plug on the connections to make sure that you don't accidentally log in too many times and leave yourself logged in. So I make a timeout. But you do not have to reconnect every single time. Once you've connected once, it'll take care of everything else for you. All right? So once you've put something up there, pull up a browser and go to itech315.frostburg.edu/users/your username. When you get there, you should be able to see your files. You can click on it, and it will render for you as if it were local. Did you get something up there? You just drag it over. It doesn't move it over, it copies it over. Right? It just copies it over. Now, if you put one thing up there and you have photos or anything else involved, you got to put them all up there for it to render. It's just as if it were on your desktop. If you don't have the photos that are associated with whatever document you're trying to render, it's not going to render your file. Questions? What do you think? Is everybody so far okay? Is there an S there? It's /users.
Messed up right here.
Oh, okay. That'll be part of it too. There we go. Yeah. All right. I think I have time that we can quickly make our first PHP file. All right. So, HTML files have the file extension what? .html. CSS files have the dot extension of what? .css. That must mean that PHP files have the extension of .php. Now, from here out, every single file you're going to do in this class is going to have a .php on the end of it, unless it is exclusively only HTML on the inside. Because here's the deal. You can write HTML inside of your PHP, and it'll be just fine. It'll render just like anything else. However, if you try to write PHP code inside of an HTML document, it will run, right? Because the server detects it as an HTML file. You told it was an HTML file, right? Got it? So let's try it out. I want to show you a little bit of a trick, a very small trick. All right? All right. So here's my Spring 19. This is what I'm going to do. I'm up on my server on my remote side. Now I can click over here and drag things up if I want, but I'm going to right click on the server and I'm going to say create new file. And I'm going to call my new file my php.php. Or maybe I'll call it my first php.php. And I'm going to click on OK. And it's going to show up there. Now I want to right-click on it, and I want to click on View Edit. And notice how it's going to come, and it's going to launch for us into Notepad++. If it does not launch into Notepad++, don't click on OK. It's just like, oh, shit. If you are a Mr. or Mrs. Clicky Pants, Xavier's like, me, and you click through where it said, what would you like to open this up with? Now we're going to show you how to open it up. All right? I want to create another one here, and I'll see if I can get it to pop up the dialog. So I want to create a new one, create new file. So that's always going to open with my notepad. So this is what we're going to do, those of you that were clicky pantses. You're going to come up to the top in FileZilla, because you don't want it opening up with regular old notepad. There's no syntax highlighting in that. You're going to click on Edit, Settings. You're going to come down to File Type Associations. In File Type Associations, you're going to paste into it the following. PHP space, quote, C:// program files, Notepad++, so on and so forth. And if you want, you can do the same thing for HTML. You say HTML, and then you copy the same thing. You can do the same thing for CSS while you're at it. Make sure that whole string is in quotes, otherwise it'll break. What's up, Ethan? What's that? Okay, right click. View edit, right? So we're going to save you, and we're going to say use custom always, and we're going to go to browse, right? And we're going to go program files, and we're going to look for Notepad++, and then we're going to choose Notepad++, and we're going to hit OK. There you go. Now, whenever you click View Edit, it should launch. If you have that in there right, it should launch Notepad++. Did it? Yep. All right. There we go. So I'm going to launch that guy. Now, here is the my first php.php. This is all there is to it, right? Angle bracket, question mark, PHP. This is the start of a PHP script. Then we're going to put a question mark angle bracket. Everything in between those delimiters is where your PHP script goes. So just like a script for JavaScript or your style, we got to have those delimiters to set apart our PHP. So let's do this. Print. That's how you do a print in PHP. Quote, hello world, this is PHP, dog. And maybe I want to print out some HTML because I want to break after that, right? How about right here? I'll put a break. Guess what? You can just insert HTML right into your print statements, put a semicolon on it, save it, and when you hit save, what will happen is FileZilla pops up and says, hey, do you want to upload this? Yeah, I do. Thanks for asking. That was nice of you. Now we come back here. Click on My First PHP, and there's my very first PHP program. That's all there is to it. Now, what's coming up? You're going to have some homeworks that are going to open up on PHP and MySQL in that book that we've been sitting on for the past several weeks, right? You're going to have to start doing those. You need to start doing the work that's in there to get yourself familiar. On Monday, I'll give you more detail about bringing ourselves up to speed in PHP. I kind of sort of want to reorganize things a little bit because you know HTML now. You know how to do a form. So I kind of want to bring Chapter 4 in and do Chapter 4 first so we can pass stuff to our PHP document and process it. Okay? And then we'll do Chapter 1, 2, and 3 kind of quick. We'll probably have an exam after Chapter 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Sound good? All right? I'll see yous. Aren't you glad you showed up to class today?